Hello and a very warm welcome to Matchpoint here on CCTV Africa, the program that brings you African sports news, features, action and highlights from the continent and beyond. I'm Mahia Mutua. Also coming up, basking in glory, Zimbabwe women's football team savours Rio Olympics qualification. And we look at the passion and enthusiasm as teams compete in the clipper round, the World Yacht Race. Well, once again, New Zealand have beaten Australia 34-17 to win the Rugby World Cup final. Once again, that just happened at Twickenham in England. The All Blacks went ahead through a Dan Carter penalty, but the Wallabies responded through Bernard Foley as both sides sat at 3-3. But New Zealand pulled ahead and were 13 points clear at halftime. 16-3, Nehe Milner-Scudder's converted try and Dan Carter's 3 penalties making the difference. At the restart, Manonu went over for a try to put the defending champions at 21-3 before the Wallabies took advantage of Ben Smith being sent to the sin bin. David Pocock scored a try followed by Tavita Kuriandrani, but Dan Carter made the most of his first final ever to kick over twice in the 69th and 74th minute to put New Zealand 27-17 ahead. But the All Blacks saved the best for last with a try for Barrett to leave it at 34-17. So New Zealand becoming the first team to defend the Rugby World Cup final in consecutive years. Well, South Africa rounded off their 2015 Rugby World Cup with a 24-13 win over Argentina in the bronze medal third place playoff at the Olympic Stadium on Friday, with Andre Pollard kicking 14 points for the Springboks. Pollard booted 4 penalties and 1 conversion, but fell agonizingly short of becoming the leading try scorer at the tournament with an overall tally of 93, 4 behind Argentine fly half Nicolas Sanchez. The Boks dominated from the offset and finished with 2 tries. JP Peterson scored in the 6th minute before Locke Eben Etzebeth went over wide early in the second half. Brian Habana, who needed 1 touchdown to set a new record for the most career tries by a player in the World Cup, failed to score despite several good opportunities.
To turn it around after our first game, the captain been injured, Victor came, he was injured. Vrienskog did brilliantly and been so close right till the end. Even now, it's great to be in this position, but you almost feel you could have been in the final. It was 2 points, could have gone either way. But I just feel blessed. It's been a great, amazing journey. And the thing that stand out for me is people back home. I know some negative criticism as well, but the people that you meet day to day, all the SMSs, it's been amazing how the people support us right till the end.
After the Japan game, something special happened with this team. I've been in a lot of teams when the campaign finish, if you're successful or not successful, there isn't a real unity. I think we somehow build a brotherhood in this team. It's just fantastic, and it's something I can use in the future, whatever I do.
Right, well, let's get you more on the Rugby World Cup final. Just to remind you that New Zealand have won 34-17 in Twickenham. Joining us live now is CCTV's CS Duplessis, who's joining us from Johannesburg in South Africa. CS, obviously one heck of a final there. What's your take on what just happened in Twickenham?
Yeah, it was a proper contest, wasn't it? You had 1 versus 2 in the world going head to head. And I must say, I think the best team in the world won. The All Blacks were absolutely fantastic. They dominated possession for most of the game. They also controlled proceedings for a lot of the time. I think the only time Australia were really in the match was for 15 minutes, and that was coinciding with Ben Smith's yellow card. And Michael Checker, the Wallaby coach, would have thought, okay, we're in with a shot here. But the All Blacks, there's a reason they're ranked #1 in the world. They kept their composure. They really leaned on those experienced heads, saw off the storm, if you like, and went through. And basically, that drop goal from Dan Carter just sort of was that final cherry on the cake. He just showed his class that he's one of the best fly-offs in the world, and hats off to Steve Hansen's men. I mean, to think about it, the All Blacks have only lost 3 games since winning the title in 2011. I was fortunate enough to be in New Zealand for that final, and it was absolutely incredible. In terms of a sporting showpiece, to have the home nation win the World Cup was incredible, and I think that they've now successfully defended their title and won the World Cup for a 3rd time. It's a thoroughly deserved title for the men from New Zealand.
Indeed, CS, thoroughly deserved for the men in black. Obviously, yesterday South Africa were playing in the 3rd place contest. They won that, the bronze final. What does that mean now for Heineke Meyer and the aging Springboks team?
That's very interesting, because speculation is rife that Heineke Meyer is going to stay on with the Springboks. We haven't had confirmation from the South African Rugby Union yet that he's had his contract extended until the next World Cup in 2019, but there seems to be a bit of belief that he will stay on. But that's been met with some interesting rugby scribes who have come to the fore, and they've basically said it's time for Heineke Meyer to go. The big question, transformation. The Springboks barely got their transformation quotas right going into this World Cup with 8 players in their 31-man squad. And in terms of game plans and the way the Springboks have performed, you know, that leaves a lot to be desired. So there are calls for Heineke Meyer to step down. It's going to be an interesting week. The Springboks touch down on Tuesday morning. Will Heineke Meyer still be in charge? Well, only time will tell.
All right, CS, thank you very much for that. CS du Plessis joining us live from Johannesburg on the sidelines of the end of the Rugby World Cup final. New Zealand have won this year's competition, and it is another 4-year wait for rugby fans until 2019 in Japan. Well, now shifting focus now to football. Defending champions Nigeria got off to an impressive start at the FIFA Under-17 World Cup in Chile. The 4-time champions of the tournament will take on Brazil in the quarterfinals scheduled for Sunday. Nigeria have consistently done well in the FIFA Youth Championship, and many are predicting they will take the trophy in Chile. Deji Badmus tries to find what is driving the country's success at the FIFA age grade competition and why it's been difficult to replicate the same form at the senior level.
This is where the game of football all begins for most Nigerian youths. Almost every open space in the country serves as a makeshift pitch for youths to hone their footballing skills. There are also the small local academies like this one called Soccer Mix, which are fast springing up. And then you have the big ones like the Pepsi Soccer Academy in Lagos, which is more organized with better facilities. It is from all of these places that talents are identified and picked to represent the country at national and international youth championships like the FIFA Under-17 World Cup.
Naturally, Nigerians are blessed with football. I say so because you see a Nigerian kid growing in the street without undergoing any form of tutorship in football. He or she start exhibiting the skills or the techniques of football naturally, though the child does not know the name of what he or she is doing.
And that's exactly what he tries to do with his academy, helping these youths to refine and fine-tune their skills on the Sunday pitch. It's the same thing at the Pepsi Academy, where the facilities are much better, but the talents much the same. While academies abound, the coaches say more still needs to be done to get them better organized and managed.
There's no clear-cut rules for them to follow. Even those ones that are established, like the Pepsi Football Academy, like the Cabe Football Academy, nobody's helping them.
Despite that, Nigeria continues to do well at age grades championship. But the challenge is that the country has still not been able to translate its success at the youth level to the senior level. The performance of the senior national team keeps dwindling. It currently sits at number 52 position on the FIFA World Ranking and does not even make the top 5 in Africa.
We have a situation where these talents, they do so well, and thereafter they don't get to move up. By the time they are supposed to move up to the senior national team, considerations are being made that maybe they are young and that there are some more established stars that are playing in the national team. I do not see any reason why there should not be a direct graduation from under-17 to the senior national team, particularly for those who have exceptional talent.
But Nigeria Football Federation President Amaju Pinnick says the situation is now being addressed with a youth development program, which he says the Federation has now secured a sponsorship for.
It's a twin program. It's called the Next Eagles Championship, under 13 and under 15. It starts from the localities to the states and to the regions, and that's it. And at the end of the tournament, we have under 13, in Nigeria under 13, Nigeria under 15. Next year, they will now graduate to 14 and 16. We'll now have another 13, and it goes up year in, year out. It's like the academicals at those levels.
Experts still insist that the NFF must do more to develop grassroots football in Nigeria by helping to refine raw talents and monitor their progress and growth so that they can become the finished article that most football analysts say Nigeria needs to get at the moment to get the senior national team firing on all cylinders. Deja Badmo, CCTV, Lagos, Nigeria.
Well, staying with youth football in Africa, one of the continent's biggest challenges in football development is the lack of structures at grassroots level to harness any existing talent across many countries. One telecommunications company in Kenya is now looking to change that by engaging UK firm My Professional Dream Academy to help identify and nurture young talent. Celestine Karane with this report on this initiative.
Emma Givinji follows her son's moves in this football game. For 14-year-old Ted and the boys on this field, there is more to this game than just the youthful exuberance of a football match. This is a football tryout.
My target is to showcase my talent here, and maybe one day I can play for a big team like Arsenal. I'm always inspired by Sanchez, and so I'm working hard because there are very many people with talent. Some of my friends wanted to be here but could not. I know it's a chance I cannot waste.
He really does love football because even back at home, they contributed some money with some other kids they play around with, and actually they made goalposts, portable goalposts.
Kenyan telecommunications company Safaricom has teamed up with UK-based group My Professional Dream Academies to give youngsters like Ted a platform on which to achieve their dream through the Safaricom Next Generation program. MPD has been holding tryouts for boys and girls across the country.
When you have a nation where you have parents, coaches, teachers, players traveling 17 hours, 10 hours, 8 hours to come to Safaricom Next Generation, I think that sums up perfectly what hunger is and the want to play football. Numbers have been the hardest task. Everywhere we've gone, we've had to really scrutinize who we can actually give the tryouts to.
We have to look at the desire of the child. We have to look at the enthusiasm of the child, which is great. If they don't have enthusiasm, they all come in 2 hours to the session. They want to play every time. So we have to look socially how the child adapts to the group. There is a latent talent in there. So we've got things to actually work with.
The academy is targeting the 11 to 16 age group, and participants must show proof of birth, documents which almost cost Alex Mesharia his opportunity.
On the first day I came for tryouts alone, I didn't know they needed things like birth certificates, and so I called my dad, who came to try and solve it. We were asked to return the following day with documents, and here I am.
Coach Akuneto heads the group of 7 coaches tasked with picking 75 players to join the academy in Nairobi next year. And 16-year-old Zorin Malik is one of the girls already impressing the coaches.
Since small, I used to watch videos, do skills by myself, learn on the net, and I've not had a personal coach like to train me. I really wanted to go professional with my football, and this is my chance.
Those running the program say this will be a long-term project which doesn't end with a short trip to international clubs. Kenya isn't famed for producing world-class footballers, despite having the odd player or two in Europe's leagues. This project is hoping to change that by nurturing Kenya's next generation of stars in a country where grassroots structures to harness talent are virtually non-existent. Celestine Karone, CCTV in Nairobi.
Well, now earlier we were speaking about Nigerian youth football and football across the continent. For more on that, we're now joined live by football analyst Kayode Thomas in Lagos. Thomas, Nigeria is currently featuring at the Under-17 World Cup in Chile, where they play Brazil tomorrow in the semi-finals. Why is it that the country seems to excel at the youth level, but at the world stage, at senior level, it doesn't seem the same case?
Well, basically, if you look at the Under-17 World Cup, since 1985, Nigeria has won 4 trophies, and Ghana has won 2. So not just Nigeria, the African countries, we've done very well. But if you look at the senior level, we've not been doing very well because there is no synergy between what we do at the youth level and what we do at the senior level. Nigeria is about the only football country in the world that doesn't have a football league. So when these youths, after competing at this under-17 level, most of them, they go back to street football. They don't want to play in the local league. They want to go into Europe, go to Asia, and probably America to play football. And this is not always very easy. So at the end of the day, these talents, they got stuck at the youth level. The development does not go further than that.
Now, Kayode, obviously, many people would say that Nigeria is the biggest talent exporter on the continent. Would you say this has an effect on the quality of the domestic league there?
Well, to be honest with you, I won't agree that we are the biggest exporter of talents. Because if you look at the big leagues in the world, how many Nigerians are playing the big league? In the English Premiership, maybe about 3 or 4. In Spain, you don't have any big Nigerian player. In Italy, how many of them are there? In Germany, how many? So to say that Nigeria have a lot of talents out there, I will not agree. Maybe we have in very lower leagues and they're not in the big league. With our population and our talent, I think we should be like the Brazilians playing in the big league. So we are not in the big league. And domestically, we don't have a good league. And that is what is killing football in Nigeria today. If you look back in the 80s and the early 90s, when we have very good league, you see a lot of top Nigerian talents in the big European football leagues. But now the domestic league has gone really, really down. And this is because most of the clubs are owned by governments. They are not well funded. Players are not paid salary regularly. The condition in the local league is very, very poor. So you find that the young talents, even though they can't get into clubs in Europe, they don't want to play in the local league because the condition is very bad.
All right, Kayode Thomas, thank you very much for that insight into Nigeria's youth talent there. That was Kayode Thomas, a football analyst, joining us live from Nigeria in Lagos here on Match Point. Well, it's time for us now to take a quick break, but we'll be coming up with plenty more stories, including basking in glory, Zimbabwe women's football team savors Rio Olympics qualification. Now, Zimbabwe has new and unlikely sporting heroes. The women's national football team, the Mighty Warriors, made history a fortnight ago by earning qualification for the Olympic Games. The team has been dogged by problems through the qualification journey. Here now is CCTV's Mahia with more.
Just a week ago, they were sweating on their make-or-break encounter against Cameroon. Today, they are savouring qualification, although it still seems like a dream.
That question, even as players, we are not actually believing that we have qualified.
They can be forgiven for being in disbelief. Just a few months ago, Zimbabwe faced expulsion from the qualifiers after failing to fulfill a fixture in the Ivory Coast. But in a curious twist of fate, It's the Ivorians who were dumped out for not travelling to Zimbabwe for the return leg. The mighty Warriors made the most of the lifeline, overcoming Cameroon on away goals. The road to Rio has been on a shoestring budget. The local FA is cash-strapped and struggled to fund the qualification campaign.
We, as an association, we are currently broke. We have not been able to fully service these teams. We do not have government funding. As we are aware, football worldwide survives and thrives because of government funding.
The government says it won't pump any more money into the heavily indebted association until fresh elections for a new executive in December. But with the history-making mighty Warriors currently the toast of the town, authorities here have pledged to help the team prepare adequately.
While we have a limited amount, we will look nationally for support as far as possible in different ways and means to get that support for the entire team, and not just football, but for the swimming, for the rowing, for the equestrian and all other disciplines.
The Olympics will be a massive step up from African qualifiers.
We watched the game against Cameroon. They are, for me, that is, there are a lot of flaws. You know, I follow the women's game. I watch the Women's World Cup, the African Championships and all that. I see the standard that is there, and we are not there yet.
But win or lose, no one's going to stop the mighty Warriors from enjoying their moment, especially after all the obstacles they've had to overcome just to get there.
It's our first time to go there. I think we have to enjoy first because it's our first time. We have to play the football because that's our aim of going there.
Mahia Mutua, CCTV, Harare, Zimbabwe.
All right, to South Africa now. And Cape Town played host to the second leg of the Clipper Around the World yacht race. This year's Clipper race has seen 12 teams competing with, including the Chinese race team Qingdao, who had to endure a delayed start due to the unexpected mechanical work ongoing on the vessel. Unlike other conventional yacht races, just about anyone can compete in the Clipper race as long as they have the stamina, passion, and the ocean and wild sense of adventure, as CCTV's Travers Andrews reports.
After a mammoth 3,417 nautical mile crossing of the South Atlantic Ocean from Rio de Janeiro, Chinese race team Qingdao finally arrived in Cape Town to a crowd of supporters. For some of the team members, battling the raging seas may have knocked out their sails from time to time, but they were clearly relieved to cross the finish line.
The first 3 days always tough because I got seasick, but the rest of the days is totally fine. And we are alone with Lamax, but no matter how we do, we just win. Yeah.
Clipper teach me a lot, and some of the members, they encouraged me when I feel weak and when I lost my breath on the boat in the storm. And we are the team. They teach us and help me, and I always support each other.
The Clipper race is indeed in a class of its own. At 40,000 nautical miles of open ocean racing, it's not only the world's longest race, but one of its toughest. That's especially true for the crew, comprised of 690 people from 44 different nationalities, many of whom have never stepped foot aboard a yacht, nevertheless sailing around the world.
The challenge for the sailors is quite simply this. Very few people have actually sailed around the world. Now, these are people from all walks of life. They're not professional sailors. They've given up their jobs for a couple of months or for a year to do this race and become very good sailors. But in doing so, of course, they're getting a fantastic experience and putting themselves in the record books because more people have climbed Mount Everest than have sailed around the world. So these people are doing something special.
For the race leaders team Great Britain, their strategy on race day is quite simple. Study the local conditions keenly for a good start off the blocks.
It's going to be certainly very tricky getting away from the start line and clear into those winds to head down to the Cape of Good Hope. So that will be the first challenge. So we've got to certainly look at the weather conditions and take into account those local weather conditions. That will be a key part of the first part of the race.
After a few days of rest and relaxation and some much needed maintenance to the yachts,
the teams will depart for Albany in Western Australia, where they'll be one step closer to completing their journey around the world. Representative CCTV, Cape Town.
Well, finally, the Rugby World Cup just drew to a close this evening with New Zealand once again winning 34-17 against Australia. The countdown now begins until the 2019 edition to be held in Japan. This year's edition saw plenty of action and plenty of fantastic players have an impact on the pitch for their teams in terms of points scored. So for this week's Match Point Top 5 segment, let's tally up the highest point scorers from the African continent at the just concluded tournament. At number 5 is Pat Lambie. The multifaceted South African earned his 50th cap on Friday in the Springboks' third-place playoff against Argentina. Despite the raging debate over what his best position is in the team, the 25-year-old scored 12 points at this year's tournament through 4 conversions and 1 penalty, which came in the semi-final loss to New Zealand. 3 points more than Lambie is fellow South African Francois Lowe. The 30-year-old flanker scored 3 tries at the tournament, racking up 15 points for the Springboks. His double against the United States and opener against Japan took his total career tries tally to 8 and puts him at 4th on our list of African point scorers at the 2015 Rugby World Cup. Joint at number 3 are teammates Brian Habana and JP Peterson. Habana may have lost out on the chance to become outright top try scorer in the history of the World Cup on Friday against Argentina, but he still enjoyed a blistering tournament in Britain. Both he and Peterson scored 5 tries each to take their individual points tally at the tournament to 25 each. Incidentally, both bagged a hat-trick, with Habana going over thrice against the United States, while Peterson scored thrice against Samoa. Teuns Kotze of Namibia is second on our list. Despite his team finishing bottom of Pool C, the 28-year-old fly half scored 1 try against Georgia, as well as 6 penalties and 6 conversions to take his individual tally to 35 points. And the player who scored the most individual points from the African continent at the 2015 Rugby World Cup is none other than Handré Pollard. With an incredible 95 points, the 21-year-old South African just missed out on the chance to be this year's tournament's top point scorer, just losing to Argentina's Nicolas Sanchez, who scored 97. His 9 conversions, 23 penalties and 2 drop goals make him Africa's top individual point scorer at this year's World Cup tournament. Well, that does indeed wrap up things for this week's edition of Matchpoint. Remember, you can send your feedback to our email address, matchpoint@cctv.com. You can also visit our Facebook page and drop a comment there, CCTV Africa. Our Twitter handle, as always, is @CCTV News Africa. Thanks for watching. I'm Mahia Mutua.